Yeah.
Make it
That's
quick.
right. No weather. It's hot. It's always hot here. It's getting cooler at night though, which is great.
Same
Um,
here.
you know what? I love this time of year as well, and it's so fleeting. It goes by so quickly
Yes. But we've
anymore.
had the most beautiful falls the last 2 years in a row, and I know this one's going to be another the same. My theory, I feel like I might have said this before. My theory, well, we started out the summer in a drought, but ended it very wet. We got a lot of rain towards the end of summer, and I think that's what keeps the leaves on the tree longer. So that when they
Oh,
turn,
yeah.
the last couple of years have been like that, and it's absolutely beautiful. Which
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
to me, this just dives us right into my first upfront topic that I wanted to
Oh,
talk
okay.
about. You're
All
going to
right.
like it. It's the top 10 most fun activities for active adults over 50 to enjoy in the fall.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Let's take this on.
yeah, because Lisa's favorite time of year is fall, and that's
Is that right?
it's rubbed off on me.
Okay.
I used to be like, and this is a horrible way to be. I used to hate fall because winter was right behind it. And fall
Yeah.
seemed like it was 2 weeks, you know? Those leaves
I
turn
can
and
relate to
boom.
this. Yeah, I can relate. I felt the same. The anticipation of the long, dreary
Yeah.
winter
Yeah.
is a serious thing
Mhm.
where you live. Here, it's like it's the opposite. It's like, oh, thank
Oh,
God. It's
you're
almost like
right.
our
It's like
very long
Australia.
summer is
Mm.
coming. And we have the short summer where you go, oh God, it's 150 degrees outside.
Yeah, it's
Then the rest of the year is super nice outside.
that's beautiful. And since our falls are so short but so beautiful, I mean they're
Mhm.
exhilaratingly beautiful. It takes some time to plan some things and do some things. One of the things that is on my top 10 list is I'll just go right to it as I was thinking about it. A few years ago, Lisa and I I think we talked about this in our last podcast. We did a kayak ride. We went to Burton, Ohio, this place called, you know what? I actually pulled something up on this. This,
Burton, I remember Burton, a lovely town.
yeah. And we went to this place called the world famous Iron Horse Saloon.
Hmm.
And it says biker bar. Here's a picture of anyway. So this is the actual bar. It's on the river, on the Cuyahoga, and you rent these kayaks, and they drive you 5 miles out and drop you off there on the river, and you kayak back to this place,
That
and
looks
then it's a
awesome.
barbecue place, but it's a
Oh,
biker place. It's like the
this is
last
my
place.
kind of place, Barry.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
not. It's the
God.
last place you'd expect Lisa to go to, but we had the best time. And like, look at this. It's right on the
Oh, I
river here.
love that. I
And
love that.
but the kayaking was incredible, and this place just sprawled out along the river. There, they got picnic tables along the river in the woods, and absolutely loved it. And oh, so we went. It was like the first week of October, and it was this beautiful day. The leaves are just gently falling along around us as I'm paddling this thing 5 miles down the river. It was so fun, and so oh, and they're like, oh, do you want a few beers for the ride? And so I had like three
Of
beers.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so cool.
Yeah.
And they have live music out here
Oh
at
man, what
this
a
stage.
place.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
so cool. And
That is
it's
that looks like a great time right
like,
there.
look at this. You would love it.
Oh,
Oh,
of
when
course.
we were getting ready to leave that, we weren't really getting ready until like one guy on his motorcycle once is doing this big burnout in the parking lot. It's
Uh,
like, yeah, and the smoke is going crazy, and everybody in the bar is woo, because that's the kind of crowd it is. And we're like, okay, time to go. Got really
That's
loud and
hilarious.
smoky in there, the whole biker thing.
Right,
Um,
right.
but hey,
That's
that's great, man, because there are a bunch of nice people, and it was a very good time. And so let's go through the top 10, and you just
well,
interject where you want.
kayaking is a good time. Let me tell
Yeah,
you that. I've just
yeah.
recently started getting into that myself. I love it going
It's
down
so
the
fun.
river.
Good
Nothing like it.
exercise. Good
Nothing like it.
exercise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you
it's good for
go.
your shoulders. So number one is hiking and nature walks, and I
Mm.
bet you have a lot of incredible stuff, as do we, because of the metro parks out here, of
Oh
course.
man, the metro parks in the Cleveland area are
Yeah,
top notch. As I've lived all over
yeah.
the country, I've come to realize that those are some of the
Yeah.
best in the country that
Yeah.
you have out there.
For real. So yeah, get out there. Like we said, this is a very fleeting season. Get out there on one of these beautiful days. It is so good for the soul, especially when you're walking amongst the fall foliage and all. Number two, near and dear to both our hearts, biking.
Oh
Bicycling.
yeah, this
Now
is the
you can
time
motorcycle
too.
riding. Yeah.
Well, this is a great time to be on the bike. Like I said, it's getting cooler at night now, so that's when Anne Marie and I will start to get
Yeah.
out there on the road. I've been in the gym this summer on the exercise bike, but
Oh,
it doesn't compare to
I
the
know.
actual thing. But I know I'm going to be ready.
You're exactly right. Because soon because I'm still riding to the gym all the time in the mornings. Now I hate it so dark now in the mornings
Mm,
and it's cold. I would say cold, like
wow,
60 degrees, 63.
that's
Um,
freezing.
yeah, I got the gear for it, but soon I'll be going in and I just say going on one of those hamster wheels for the winter.
Yeah,
I hate
yep,
it. I
yep.
really do hate that. Oh, so
It's,
anyways,
but the one thing is you're listening to your podcasts or whatever, that does sort
true.
of take the edge off of that
It
and you get
does.
into your zone and all. And you don't have to pay attention to where you're going. That is one when you're
Boy, are you
riding your
looking at the bright
bicycle.
side there?
I'm
Because
trying. I've been telling myself this all summer, Barry.
I hear you. You're right. Oh, number three is awesome. And it is apple picking and visiting orchards.
Oh
And
man, that's an Ohio thing, man. That is
dude,
such a
so
cool thing.
yeah.
And it
Yeah,
smells so good.
you're
Oh,
right. The smell of apple cider in the air. We go every fall. We go and we're going, Lisa said, the last week of September, so like 2 weeks. We go to Patterson's Fruit Farm.
uh-huh.
And boy, guys, Google images on that. I got some pulled up here. And I take
Wow.
pictures of it. I didn't bother looking for them. I just Googled this. But it is gorgeous. It's
Really
vast.
is.
It's, yeah, sprawling hills. And in the fall, it is just unbelievably gorgeous. And
Mm.
so we go there every year to get our pumpkins and corn stalks, our fall decor. And Lisa's really big on that. We change our outdoor decor. I took pictures of what we have out there right now. I took pictures about a couple of months ago, sent them to you. We have these beautiful American flag looking decorations that we put out on the front porch for the summer. And anyways, that will be turning, those will be leaving, and corn stalks, I'll be putting those up, and pumpkins and things like that out there.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah,
we do
this
it too.
trip to Patterson's is the best. It is just absolutely gorgeous. And if you have something like that, look at this. This is exactly where we get our
Yeah.
pumpkin, right?
There's something about that. Just the pumpkin shopping, the whole, apples, the
All the
smells.
kids, see this
Oh
little playground
yeah.
right here? All these kids are having a ball. It's like this great family friendly atmosphere.
Mm.
It's very vast, so it's not crowded. And yeah, I can't say enough about it. So if you have anything like this available to you, definitely partake. Along these lines is just skipping here because wine tasting tours. We
Those are
have,
fun. Yeah.
dude, we have gorgeous vineyards out here. As a
That's
matter of
right. You
fact,
do. Yeah.
this is funny. It was last year or the year before, I don't remember which. We did another trip to Patterson's just because it was this gorgeous fall day. And it was like November or something. And we're like, we got to do something with this day. Just we got to get outside. Let's go to Patterson's. Then we're out at Patterson's walking around and we're like, God, we should have went to a vineyard because it's just like this, but we'd be walking around with a glass of wine. Some really good wine. So
Good rationale there.
yeah, hopefully we'll remember to do that this year. But
That's
it's a
great.
drive because for us, you got to go to Madison or Geneva, something like
Oh
that. It's a
yeah,
bit
yeah.
out there.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so, do you have vineyards out there? I kind of would think you would.
No, I not in Arizona that I know of at all.
Hmm.
Of course, California was
Oh
kind of the
God.
king of
Oh
wine,
yeah.
but none. I can't imagine grapes growing out here.
You just made me think of something. Because California, you think of Napa Valley, and
Right, right.
my friend Human Charlie, not to be confused with Dog
Human
Charlie.
Charlie.
Yes, he just got back from a giant wedding there. This billionaire got married. He was really showing up But what you made me think of, human Charlie just came back from a doctor's appointment because he's had stage 4 metastatic cancer. And he was told over a year ago, I met him about a year ago this month. And boy, you meet him. So we got close dog walking friends around here. He joined our group and he's the nicest guy. You meet him, you love him. And you did a prayer for him some months ago. I asked you to do a prayer for him. He was going through some bad times, stage 4 cancer.
I remember that. Yeah.
He just got cleared. He was doing this immunotherapy, experimental immunotherapy, and they say he's cancer-free. He never expected that.
Praise God.
A year ago, He was given 8 months.
I am so elated to hear that. I've got a lump in my throat right now. That is so awesome, Barry.
Yeah,
wow.
I give credit where credit is due, but I just really believe in your prayers, and would like to think that had something to do with it.
I know
it's immunotherapy. It's
not me.
Positive thinking. Charlie was always, I'm going to beat this. He'd always say that. I'd ask, every once in a while, ask about his health and how things are going. He goes, well, it's challenging. Lost the use of my saliva glands, but that's, I'd rather be where I'm at. And he goes, and I'm going to beat this thing. And he would always say that. There's so much to that.
Very, the power of, I got to just wipe my eyes here.
Yeah.
Very emotional. The power of the spoken word.
You say that all the time.
The Bible says it this way that well, I'll remember it in a second. It's the power of the tongue, though, is this is a scripture I have on the tip of my tongue all the time, and now I can't even remember.
That's all right. You'll think about it.
The fact is that it is we create our worlds by what we say out of our mouths, and it is so interesting when you see it in action. A friend of mine, Mo, who was speaking something into existence about her retirement. She was going to be a farmer. She was going to have these farm animals. She was going to have these crops. She's a businesswoman. She's never done that before.
Oh my God. That's a huge undertaking then.
Yeah, right.
Huge, dude.
She is a farmer now. She has,
oh my God.
She has crops. She has sheep. She has a llama. It's amazing.
It's exhausting.
She has a big truck. She loves it. She's in her nirvana. This is as hard as the work is. It's so crazy too, because as she spoke this,
she's amongst nature, man.
People came out of the woodworks that she didn't know to come and help her along the way. It was just like she would coincidentally meet somebody that would want to share their life's work with her. Here's how I did it. Here's how you can do it. And it's all
that's the secret, as they say.
You have said you're vibrating at a certain level. That's what's happening when you're speaking these things into existence. And I have to remind myself this too, because we speak a lot of things that we don't want. And
true.
And sometimes people say things by habit, and then they bring that into their lives. And I've even seen it where people have said horrible things about themselves, and I've seen those things come to pass as well. So we have to really guard our tongues. It is very important what is coming out of us, because it's sort of like we have this big transmitter here, and it comes back to us.
It's a magnet. It's really a magnet. So we got to watch what we think too, and that's a real hard one, because life is challenging and we go through ups and downs.
Let me put it this way. God says that my word will not return to me void, meaning just like the rain comes down from heaven, and it produces crop. So the rain doesn't return void. When God puts his word out, it's going to cause action, but we're made in his image. So we are the same as him. When he made us in his image, he made us a speaking spirit. We can speak things into existence. It's very, very powerful. That's the only point I wanted to make.
Well, that's a good point. And coming from a Christian point of view, I think that's very valuable, but it's also for people that aren't Christian. There's also the same if you want to call it theory, belief. I think it's more than a belief. I think
It's like
proven.
physics. Yeah. It's like the law of the universe,
They
right?
say
Gravity is like that. Go ahead.
like the secret, I say in quotes, that if you can get at that vibrational harmony where not only do you want something, but you believe you have it and you're living it and you
That's
feel
it.
it at an emotional level, they say, then the universe must make it that way.
It is so true. It is so true. Your
Well,
faith in something, your belief.
your
And
faith,
this is the
yes.
thing, is that we match our words up with what we believe. And
Yeah.
so when we believe something, we speak it out. And Barry, this is what's so important about freedom of speech.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
this whole thing about speaking has everything to do with connecting to what is in our hearts. And if we can control people's words, we can control them. We can control their every destiny. It is the nexus of the human spirit.
I agree. I got to throw this in. Not it's a monkey wrench though, but you just made me think. We'll talk about this later. Kamala Harris just did that with Trump the other day.
Boy, wasn't that a lesson that
We'll
we
get
saw?
back to
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, back to this.
That's very appropriate.
Number 4 is golfing. I hate golfing. I tried to pick it up.
Why? I don't like it either. I can't understand what's so exciting about it. It's kind of nice to be on I live on a golf course, but we're sports guys. Why don't we like this?
For me, it's because it's the same weather that I would be cycling or walking my dog.
I hear you.
So I'd rather do that. I'm much rather
bicycling now. Right, exactly. Yeah. I get that, right? I can be on my motorcycle, right?
For those of you that love golfing, now is the time of year, man. Really get out there, because you know why? Because it's an activity where you're gonna burn some calories, but you're gonna be out in nature and you're preoccupied with a goal, something to do while you're doing. But the people get so freaking angry when they're golf. Oh, it's a great time. Oh, well, you yelled and you yelled.
I get so angry.
You threw your club into the woods.
In fact, whenever I've golfed, I'm in the woods more often than not, looking for my ball.
Which is where you wanted to be anyway.
That's awesome, Barry.
So for those of you then number 5 is kayaking or canoeing, and we talked about that. Number 6 is wine tasting tours, so we talked about that. Number 7, this is a good one that I could Google, and I have not. Autumn festivals and fairs. Now,
I love those. Those are so fun. Again, the smells, the feeling, the crisp feeling in the air. The smell of fair food is really awesome. I mean, come on. That's one of my favorites.
I always think of there'll always be a moment in the fall when I hear the leaves rustling across the ground. I always think of Tremont. And it's because I had a lot of nice experiences. You remember when I lived downtown? You still lived in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And on occasion, I would go with friends to Tremont, partying and stuff. And you do a lot of walking. Tremont is a small, quaint town with all kinds of restaurants and bars. And so you do. And when I think of it, I think of walking from a bar to bar with the leaves rustling across the ground.
That is nice. Yeah. And it is a nice area of
town. You always
really
keep coming back to the smells, and you're exactly right.
There's something about it that just, and also, Barry, I haven't lived in the Cleveland area in so long that, and everywhere I've lived, there is no fall.
Yeah, so that's terrible.
I totally missed fall.
Spring and fall are my favorite.
Beautiful leaves and everything, and the smell that goes along with it is something that is unique to, your particular area of the country.
Okay, so listen to this one-sentence description. It'll take you there. Attend local harvest festivals, craft fairs, or farmers markets. These events often feature live music, pumpkin carving, artisan crafts, and plenty of seasonal food. That sounds, I gotta Google it. I gotta Google it and put something. Lisa and I gotta do that for sure.
You just brought me back. I remember going to a fair as a young guy. I think I was like 11 years old, and I bought this really
your bike stolen.
And I bought a hunting knife actually,
Ah,
and with my own money, and I brought
ah.
it home. And my mistake was I showed it to my dad, who immediately confiscated it from me. And I was so angry. And he told me it was because I couldn't handle it. I was too young. And boy, did that ever
Yeah.
prick my pride.
Yeah.
And I never saw that knife again. And I
Wow.
never actually had a knife again until I went camping about 10 years ago. I thought, I'm going to go to Joshua Tree camping. I I I don't know what's going to happen at night. Maybe I need a big hunting knife. And I remember when I bought it, it was big. When I bought it,
Wow.
I remembered my dad telling me that I couldn't handle it. And I remember on my way home kind of chuckling to myself, ha ha ha, dad, I can handle it. And I remember getting home, I was going to put it in my drawer, and it's in this really cool sheath. And I thought, let me just take that out. And I unfastened
Yeah.
the thing, and the knife fell out of the sheath. And as it was falling, it was heading towards my foot. And
Yeah.
my reflex was to catch it. Cut
Did you
the
really?
crap out of myself.
Oh,
And
oh.
I heard my dad's voice. Ding.
Ah.
I told you.
Yeah, right. Now,
Never had another one.
coincidentally, I frequently talk about how I grew up. My life, my childhood was Stand By Me, the movie at the
Yes.
on a
Yeah, I
dead
can relate
end
to that too. It was like
road,
mine was a lot like that. Yeah.
railroad tracks, woods, all of that back there. And there was a few years, probably 14, 15, 16. I don't know about 16. I was driving. I got out of the neighborhood at that point, but so 13, 14, 15, probably. I had a really nice knife that I bought at back then, Kmart or something, but it's a
Oh,
good quality. It was in a leather pouch that I put on my belt. I always carried it with me for those years.
see?
I never hurt
Yeah.
myself. I used it all the
Yeah.
time,
Because you could
making
handle it.
spears
Yeah.
or whatever, and
Yeah.
just playing with it. Played it with it all the time. Never hurt myself.
Look, my dad had my number. He
He
just knew.
he
Right?
he talked it into existence.
Yeah, he did. Right.
Let's finish these
That was
up.
awesome. Go ahead.
Outdoor photography. We now all have amazing cameras on us at all times. And around here, I think I say it all the time. I share pictures of across the street at the park from the mornings when it's
Yeah,
beautiful in the
you
fall.
had some really good ones.
I can't help it. Every year I take the same picture. It looks exactly the same every year, but I have to take it. I got out 100 photos that all look the same, but I can't help myself. Okay, number 9 is gardening in quote in parentheses fall planting. I'm not sure about what that is. We got
Yeah.
a gardener, but we have beautiful gardens or whatever landscaping in the backyard. Rewarding activity. You know what? I've always wanted. I have this little fantasy that when I get old, and I'm 58 now, so I've always wanted in my mind a greenhouse that I could
Yeah.
spend all kinds of time and learn all about different plants and grow my own vegetables that I want and things like that, and be out there in the winter and it's kind of nice out and it's fun, peaceful.
Anne Marie has been talking about that for the last 20
Really,
years. She wants to
really,
do the same thing.
yeah,
And
totally get it.
yeah, I could see that. I could see how that could be something that is stimulating and rewarding.
Yeah.
And I personally, I'm not so great with plants, so
Me
it
either.
would probably be
I'd
a
have to learn.
disaster out there.
Oh, you'd have to learn,
Yeah.
Ask ChatGPT, you're good to go.
Boy, that thing is amazing.
I use it all day, every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last one, join a local hiking or walking group. And
That's a great idea.
it's a great idea. Again, with our incredible metro parks out here, I know our frequent guest, Mark Tennant, does that. And he's in a walking group. They do a metro park out there. It's very uphill and it's tough. It's great exercise and you're outdoors. It's great social stimulation. And I remember having Debbie Weiss on here, who wrote a book about.
Oh yeah, Debbie.
Yeah, she wrote a book about her struggles dating after the love of her life, her husband, died at 50.
Ted.
Oh yes, that because it's your father's name. That's right.
Right. Yeah.
And she finally discovered towards the end of that book, she discovered joining a meetup group and doing hiking.
Boy, that is such a great
It's a
thing for
great
somebody that's recently widowed and being able to get with other
so many
people
levels.
instead of
Yeah.
staying alone in your head.
Yeah.
This is and this is I heard a comedian speaking the other day about how it was dating back in the day, back in
Yeah.
our day. And
Mhm.
she talked about, well, back then all you did was you put on your best outfit and then you just go outside and you're just ta-da.
That's true. It seemed like, except, us guys, we all said the same thing, is that you get a girlfriend and girls are all over you, but you're in
Yeah.
between
Why
and
that happened to me? Like, what the
always,
heck?
man. That's
Well,
the
and I think it's human
women
nature.
sense it.
But
Women sense it.
but we all want something we can't have too,
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
think that was a part of it as well. Because as soon as your girlfriend breaks up with you, you're like, well,
You're
what about all those other women that where'd they go?
for sure, for sure. But I 100% believe it's because we're the predators, women are prey, and they have this sense that they have a
Yeah.
sixth sense, and we're there reeking of desperation, inner needs, and uh, anxiety, or however
Oh
you want to
yeah.
put it.
Yeah.
But it's negativity, is what it is, and they're
It
like,
is
"Whoa,
your aura. It's the aura around you on that. And it's something I noticed was as we got older, all our friends, half of them went through divorces.
oh sure,
And I
at
remember
least
like
one."
that friend of yours that was going through a divorce or
Yeah,
recently divorced, they had an aura around them that
sure.
repelled the opposite sex.
Sure. Well, and it's the difference between confidence and lack of confidence, because
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
extreme, and women are so attracted to confidence. But likewise, that is why you look for a job when you have a job. When you
Oh,
interview
wow.
for
Good
jobs,
point. Good
while
point.
you have, it's the same thing,
Yeah,
because
you're
you're
right
not
about
reeking
that.
of desperation. You don't have this void that's trying to suck everything in.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
you're just confident and you exude it. You're positive. You're
You got
exuding
that
positivity.
swagger going
There
on.
you
Yeah.
go.
Yep.
The
Yep.
swagger's everything in all facets of life, really.
You're right about that. You
Yeah,
are exactly
we
right.
can fake it to a certain extent.
Hey,
So
I
that's
had I
go
had a
ahead.
couple of things I wanted to
Mhm.
go over if we're ready to transition.
You go right ahead.
Well, Thomas Sowell is one of my favorite
Mhm.
people out there. He's one of my favorite authors out there, and I had some quotes from him that I thought were very thoughtful. And so I wanted to just first off say that Thomas Sowell he was born June 30th, 1930, and he is still alive out there. So he's in his 90s and hasn't lost a step. He is an
He wrote,
American.
I'm
Go
sorry, he wrote a very famous book. I can't think of the name of it. What is it?
Well, he's written tons of different books. I have several of them here. One of them
Yeah.
is Wealth, Poverty, and Politics, which was one of my favorites that he has. But he's got some pretty wild titles for his books. He's one of these guys. Let me just read the rest. He's a
Mhm.
social philosopher. He's a political commentator. He's a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution. He's widely published commentary and books. He's a guest on TV and radio, and he became a well-known voice in the American conservative movement as a prominent Black conservative. He was a recipient of the National Humanities Medal and the President George W. Bush, or from George W. Bush in
Hmm.
2002. My cup has his
Oh,
caricature on it.
cool.
He is a very and he's got all these quotes and things that he says that are extremely thoughtful and thought provoking. And I have a few of these quotes that I wanted to share with you here today
Cool.
because I think they're very interesting. So, number one, and we'll just go over a couple of these. I got 10 of them in front of me. Socialism in general has a record of failure so blatant that only an intellectual could ignore or evade it.
Oh, that's funny.
Isn't that interesting?
That's very interesting.
He
Yes.
goes through in his books all of these different facts about socialism and communism and what the results are, and they're all a big bloody mess.
I
And
know.
but we always see these things where in academia it's seen completely different, and they seem to sort of
Convince
they
themselves.
erase these areas of and they say, no, they just didn't do it right that time.
Always. Not that kind of socialism.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
wrong kind.
right. And it's amazing to me how it seems like the majority of any population can convince themselves that this is because you're just being promised free stuff
Exactly.
from the rich.
Exactly.
And
And this
then,
is
yeah,
it.
I'm going to get all free stuff from the rich.
And
Yeah.
then the free stuff, as we've been learning, comes back to bite you in the form of inflation.
Well, all
So
it does
you
is the
pay for
people
it one way or another.
that say they're going to give all this stuff are actually just gain more power.
That's right.
From you. And next thing you know, it's food lines.
Yeah, it's not about you, it's about them.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, it's
how
like
about
when they
this one?
say they're going to pay for your tuition or give you reparations, watch out.
Yeah, grab your wallet, hide your wallet.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
Number 2, the next time some academics tell you how important diversity is, ask how many Republicans there are in their sociology department.
God, that's a good one. Oh, that's such a good
like
one.
the way he thinks.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
how about this one? What multiculturalism boils down to is that you can praise any culture in the world except Western culture. And you cannot blame any culture in the world except Western culture.
Man, that's very true.
Isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
we are the world's piñata.
Yeah, for sure. But we also think we're the world's police. And so that comes with the territory.
And also, when you take a look at the things that we are guilty of, I'm really starting to get more of a perspective on why people feel the way they do outside of America.
I can't, yeah, if there's a country out there that overall has a favorable outlook on us, I'd like to know where that is, because I can't imagine.
Which one could that possibly be?
No, we're in everybody's business, and we put out this facade. It's for their own well-being. And
no kidding.
Yeah.
Here's one, number 4. If the battle for civilization comes down to the wimps versus the barbarians are going to win.
There you go. and yeah, I think that China and Russia, the powers that be, have been helping nurture us into a whole bunch of wimps over here.
Well, I think it's pretty interesting as we take a look at the Afghanistan withdrawal and followed on the heels of China becoming more belligerent towards Taiwan. It seems to me that, and also the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, it seems like our weakness in Afghanistan caused those barbarian-like countries to flex their muscles.
So you got that just right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, number 5, elections. Oh, I love this one. I think you're going to like this one too. Elections should be held on April 16th, the day after we pay income taxes.
I've heard that one before.
I think I've mentioned this one to you before.
And
that is one of the, let me finish this. This is one of the few things that might discourage politicians from being big spenders. Go ahead.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, no, I don't have anything more. That says it all. I love it. Love it.
I love it too. Here's number 6. People who identify themselves as conservatives donate money to charity more often than people who identify themselves as liberals. They donate more money and a higher percentage of their incomes.
Is that a fact?
I've seen studies on this before, and it is absolutely a fact. And funny thing too, I remember when they were making a big deal of this when Mitt Romney was running for president, and they were trying to say, well, he makes all this money and everything, and then they looked at how much money he gave away to charity. It was astronomical.
Oh, wow.
He was giving like 20% of his income away to charity. No. This is like, and they had all the forms and everything. It was pretty amazing because they were trying to talk about how, he's hardly paying any taxes because everything he's paying was capital gains taxes. He'd invested all his money. Right. So it's just a big fallacy.
Well, in fairness, it could be that I'm just throwing it out there. It could be that maybe Republicans, especially in years gone by, it seems like the tables have really turned these days. But Republicans were the more wealthy, the white collars. They had more money, and so donating to charities a write-off, a lot of times accountants will tell you you need to get rid of several $1,000s before tax season comes.
I'm
here.
sure that has a part in it as well. And
Yeah.
funny thing, under Trump, he eliminated a whole bunch of deductions from our eligible tax deductions. And so, here's this Republican guy taking away all of these different things. I remember, when with my accountant, I was like, wait a second, I can't write that off anymore. Yeah, well, thank your president. Well, that was interesting. Okay, here's number 7. It takes considerable knowledge just to realize the extent of your own ignorance.
Boy, that's very true. We talk about that.
We've learned that.
Yeah, we've learned
throughout this show.
Yeah.
Throughout our experience on the show. All right, number 8. It is hard to imagine a more stupid or more dangerous way of making decisions than by putting those decisions in the hands of people who pay no price for being wrong.
Oh man, that makes me think about Congress talking about debt ceilings and freeze shutting down the government and all that. Yeah. Everybody says this every year too when we go through this. Is you put your own salary on the line there, and you're going to find a solution very quickly.
Boy, you sure did bring up a good one here, because all of this talk about the debt ceiling is such BS, Barry. They're going to raise the debt ceiling, and that this is all just political ploy in order to get stuff and make us feel good that these politicians are doing. Oh yeah, they're battling for me. But when we found out that our whole economy works off of debt, and in particular government debt, that the only way our economy works is by increasing that debt ceiling every cycle.
Right.
And when you look back, you can see how they've played around with that. Oh, we're not going to do it. Shut down the government. And they shut it down for 30 days and everybody whines about it. And then they open it back up. It's all just games, smoke and mirrors.
It sure is. It sure is. What you got now?
Number 9, people who enjoy meetings should not be in charge of anything.
That enjoy eating?
And enjoy meetings.
Oh yeah, everybody in business knows that one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And here's the last one. The problem isn't that Johnny can't read. The problem isn't even that Johnny can't think. The problem is that Johnny doesn't know what thinking is. He confuses it with feeling.
Oh boy, that's really one for today, isn't it?
Yeah,
Let me ask you, let's not go on a big diatribe, but I seriously want to ask you, because of the nature of your business, of you being a sales director all these years, and very successful at both sales and at managing people, the meetings thing. What do you think about that? I mean, the necessity of having meetings to make sure everyone's clear and on the same page versus when they become a hindrance to getting things done.
I think it's a tightrope walk on that one. There's a fine line between having very productive meetings and then wasting everybody's time. I think every corporation out there has to figure out the secret sauce on this, especially as it matches up with their culture, because culture in every business really is what makes that business works. So I think that, personally, the company that I'm working for now, I think they do a pretty good job of not inhibiting our day by loading too many meetings on. But, here's the one thing is that we have a lot of these meetings over like Zoom meetings now. Yeah. And so you'll have 40, 50 people in a meeting. And it is very easy to get distracted when these meetings happen, because we all have social media flying at us and things happening in our house. So one suggestion I would make is make the meetings shorter and more concentrated, and then also have an outline that you can give to people so they can reference that information later, because we all have a little bit of ADD here. It's funny because we just had this meeting where we were going over all these processes and procedures, and I'm like, okay, yep. And there's a lot. And then I immediately screwed up one of them, and somebody's like, remember, you got to send it to this email. It's like, you can't remember all of these things they tell you. So I don't know if that was an answer, but
It was
I
a
think
good
they
answer.
should keep them shorter.
One thing that bothers the heck out of me is if you're I'll voluntarily go to a networking event here and there, but the biggest turnoff is every time if it's a group of 12 people or whatever, there's always the one that can never shut up because they like being the center of attention. And they'll
Yeah.
keep you there longer than you need to be. And they're just wasting your time. And you're like, I'll never come back to one of these.
I'm trying to. I hope I'm not that person.
I hope you're not either.
I might be. But speaking of business, I did want to ask you about the Airbnb business and what you've been experiencing over the last couple of years, because as we see, the economy has very much changed. Travel has changed. Business has changed. I was thinking about this last night, and I looked up Airbnb to see how they were doing as a corporation. And over the second quarter, their profits fell by 15%, but they said it was due to higher income taxes, despite an 11% increase in revenue from stronger bookings.
Wow.
So they had stronger bookings. They did fall short of the expectations, but there's another interesting thing they said is additionally, Airbnb noticed a trend of shorter booking lead times and some signs of slowing demand from U.S. guests, which could be influenced by macroeconomic pressures. What say you? You're in the business.
I have definite thoughts on that, and I'll just try to make it brief. But you could see what's the change in the culture. And for one, people used to be like, whether it were dog toys or even plates or something in the kitchen, if they took something, they'd end up leaving something else. It'd be like dog toys. Well, I had 3 different dog toys, but now I still have, now they're just taking. People are shopping in my house, and
wow!
I have to watch how much laundry detergent I leave out, how much toilet paper, paper towels. I mean, everything. They'll take whatever's not nailed down. Not everybody, but I'm saying on the whole, that is more what's going on. People with electric cars are charging the crap out of them on my dime, and it'll cost me $50 a month extra in electricity to charge their damn cars. Wow. So you got to watch out for that.
Cars, right?
The cost of everything is going up. The city just the county just reevaluated all of our houses and upped them by a big percentage, and so that they could get a lot more in property tax. And since we have high property taxes here, that really hurts. And so I'm going to sell the house. I'm pretty sure of that. The cost of everything has gone up. Everyone in this country is trying to find a way to get another dollar out of the next guy. And but I'll say bookings wise, it's as good as ever. I stay booked. So, but yeah, I do think out of necessity, I think I'm just going to sell the house and invest that money in the market. Now,
okay,
I heard somebody say this is important. You're never going to see a 10% increase on your real estate again in your life. So sell and put it in the market where you're going to, in all likelihood, get 4 or 5%, whatever that is from here on. So that's what I think the way to go is. That was on the Patrick David podcast.
We're never going to see, we were talking about the interest rates that we saw.
The return, the increase on your real estate investment. Like, if you got a 10% increase this year, don't expect that's not going to continue to happen.
Gotcha.
The bubble's probably going to burst, or I don't know. Nobody really knows what's going to happen.
Nobody ever really knows on this, but we've seen unbelievable price hikes in housing. And we've heard this whole thing about the 2030 agenda. You'll own nothing and love it. And it seems like they're conditioning us with these higher prices to succumb to that, to just accept that as a reality.
Agreed.
Speaking of that, Barry, over this week, a friend of somebody that you really love to listen to on podcasts, and you've really impacted me with James Lyndsey and his new discourses. I was reading I was listening to one of his podcasts this week, actually a couple of his bullets. He's got these podcasts that are about 15 minutes in length that are just like, he calls them bullets, where he just focuses on one subject and he just really goes through an outline of what that means. And in this one, he was talking
and by the way, it's about recognizing woke processes and how to undo them,
right. And in this particular one, the subject was called "Woke Isn't Insane, It's Evil." Did you happen to hear that one?
Probably. Go ahead.
Well, he's saying
I'm
this.
sure
I'm
I
just
did.
going to read this because I found this one to be very interesting, especially in light of the debate that happened this week.
Mhm.
He says, we need a perspective shift. It's extremely common to hear people say how insane or crazy woke Marxism is, or to rhetorically ask, what are they thinking? Perhaps with a suggestion of it won't work. Marxism is destructive on purpose, and being befuddled about their destructive programs doesn't help us stop them. In this episode of New Discourses Bullets, James Lyndsey breaks down the simple idea necessary for this shift in perspective. They have different goals than the rest of us. In fact, their goals are, in the words of Herbert Marcuse, to protest against the totality of well-functioning, prosperous society. So, he in the next episode he talks about this whole thing about the anti-communist needs. The anti-communist needs more than other, perhaps aside from courage. We need discernment. We need to understand their language, the woke language, and what it means, and we need to be suspicious of these words. You put these two bullets together, and what I'm understanding from him is that he is saying that this whole woke process is as crazy as it seems to us. It's actually a very well thought out strategy that works. And the whole process of bringing communism into some place like America is that you have to break down the system that is in order to usher in the new system. We're not going to just accept communism. And the only way we're going to accept communism is if we don't have any other choices. And so this is the whole episode. The whole episode is talking about this. And also there's a whole language that goes along with this that is important for us to understand. And he even brings up the fact that the language is changing and it's becoming more voluminous every day. So it's very hard to keep up with this. But if we don't, we are going to be deceived by these people. And when you listen to the rhetoric today in politics, we really have to be careful of this kind of thing, Barry. As I'm talking about this, are any thoughts bubbling up in you? What do you got?
Well, the one that you're talking about, I do believe that's his latest one about the understand what they're saying and the play on words and things like that. That was the first time he was losing me. And the reason for that is there's a couple of things. And I love James Lyndsey. He's really brilliant. And he does shed a lot of light on things for me. So I think I'll always listen to his podcast. But in this instance, this made me think of, I remember when the app Nextdoor first came out.
Oh, yeah.
Just realizing how crazy this neighborhood really is. And at that time, one of the city council people in Cleveland Heights wrote some kind of a post about his website where here's what conservatives really mean when they say things. And he had a list of all of these words and phrases in their translations. And I wrote something back to the sense of, my God, you think that there's really a whole alternate language over here? I mean, this guy's insane. Now he's the mayor of Cleveland Heights. So, I thought it was crazy then. I think it's a little crazy now. I think going from the other side, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Lyndsey's talking about the same thing from the other side. I think he leans a little too much in the communism thing. I think he needs to be a little open-minded because I believe, and I could be totally wrong, but I believe our government just wants power however they get it. George Soros talks about shaking up civilization and letting it, however it shakes out is however it shakes out. But you made the point that I also believe is that our government is trying to get us to a point where we're asking for socialism or communism or authoritarianism in whatever form it takes. They don't care about the term. They just want the power and the money.
I agree with you on that. They don't care about communism or what the for. But here's the thing: is that these people have used communism as a club to beat down other nations, and it's a tool to transfer wealth from the society into their pockets.
Yes, that's
And
exactly right.
So really, it's not about they love communism. That's
Right.
They could care less about communism.
Right.
Communism, though, is something that they implement as a program in order to siphon all of the wealth and value out of any kind of society. So that's why they're trying to implement it. And back to the, is it insane or is it diabolical? You have to go to the diabolical side, because if it's insane, then they're just doing crazy things. But if it's diabolical, then they're doing something purposely evil. And purposely evil is to deceive people and to steal their lifelong work and to oppress all of their liberties. And that is actually the goal. And when you look at the programs that are happening in government today, you and I have talked a lot about this, Barry. It's hard to imagine that you could believe that if you print $3 trillion, that it's not going to have a dramatic impact on our economy.
Yeah.
And we've seen
it's common sense.
Yeah, it is common sense.
Keeping your borders open and incentivizing millions of people to come over here is going to shake up our society.
It's name,
disrupt it.
And here's one of those words: in the name of equity. Okay, so equity sounds great. Yeah,
sounds
equity,
like equality.
We want. Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make.
That's the problem, right?
These are the buzzwords that they're using to deceive the public into the boiling water pot. Right? Is like,
diversity is great as long as there's no white people.
Diversity. It's just like Thomas Sowell said. You're talking to the academia, ask them how many Republicans are in their sociology departments.
Exactly. Right. That was a good one.
That was a good one.
I want to remember that
making your point. Yeah, exactly. But when you take a look at the debate that happened last week, you can see that it seems like that's what we're really up against here. And it seems to me that the process is working. It's very effective, because when you look at what that debate was all about, I would say to me, it was a draw. And here's why I say that. Because it didn't move the needle for either side. But the strategy, I thought, coming from Harris was to
her team.
It was really her team, right? was
the team
really
that was put upon her
to avoid being pinned into the track record of the last 3.5, 4 years of this administration, and to it's almost like like the Statue of Liberty play in football, where it's all misdirection. What they did was they attacked this man's pride, and they know that this is a very prideful person that's going to defend. Like what the first real shot across the bow, I thought, was when she said, "Have you been to any of these Trump rallies? I mean, they're crazy. People leave before the rally's over because he's just rambling on." And you could see his face. I mean, that really got into his craw, right? And and he reacted to that, and he was on the defense the entire time. And she never really had to defend. She really never had to defend her her track record.
Yeah.
But she was able to throw out a lot of things that you would say, okay, how could you get away with that? The very fine people one, and and that one has been so debunked that how could you possibly get up there and say, well, that's what he said, and not be fact checked for that.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm trying to hold back, because when I get going here, I'm so angry about all this. I got a lot to say, so I want to let you.
Well, don't hold back, because I mean, this is what this is for.
Dude, I'm gonna. Okay, do you want me to start flying on this?
Yeah,
I'm so angry. I'm so angry at Trump. I literally think I developed Trump derangement syndrome as a result of all of this. And And it's built up. I texted you when I listened to the Lex Friedman interview. Lex Friedman interviewed Trump about a week ago.
Yeah.
And I texted you and said, I thought, wow, he seems tired and slipping, and he was not good. And then this debate, I texted you again, and I thought I was being mild. I forget what I said, but I said something like, he's not doing very well. No. And he did awful. And I think he's so freaking stupid, man. And I really do. I'm mad at the whole MAGA people that just anointed this guy as their savior, this 78-year-old narcissistic idiot that's never read a book in his life. Clearly, he can't take the time to memorize some freaking stats about the Biden-Harris debacle of the last 3.5 years.
I like debacle.
Yeah, I do too. It would be so easy to crush her, giving 5 minutes. He supposedly has Tulsi Gabbard as his campaign coach or whatever. She can rattle off all of those stats right off the inner sleep. And he's not coachable because of his freaking ego. He thinks he could go out there and throw out absolute ridiculous hyperbole the entire time and just, I was the best ever. I had the best rallies ever. Billions of people came to them, more than trillions of people. And there'll never be a better rally ever. And that kind of nonsense. That's all he says.
You're right.
He repeats it over and over and never made much of a valid point the entire time. And he could have crushed her. And again, all he had to do, and he got stuck on the stupid abortion smokescreen for a really long time. And if he would have stuck with the wars and spoken to that at all, obviously the economy and the border. That's all you come back to. And he got tripped up. It was like child's play to tweak his narcissistic ego, and he had run with it every time like a dog chasing a shiny object. I mean, I couldn't even believe it. And I'm so angry to this day. But right after the debate, I was thinking, I went out and rode my bike to my favorite Mexican restaurant yesterday afternoon. And came back, and I was visibly angry. Like, Lisa's out here messing with the flowers and stuff. She's like, "Why are you so angry?" And I'll get to that because I went through these phases. First of all, yes, he lost the debate completely. He accepted a debate with those idiot moderators they're as embarrassing as the lawfare that the Democrats have been committing.
That's right. Yes.
All this time and not doing anything about it, not talking about it. Like that should be the only thing Americans are talking about. So I was very angry that he just did horribly in that debate. He's still thinking it's 2016 when he was like a novelty act coming out and doing something nobody's ever done in a political stage before, being a buffoon and talking over Hillary and all of that. And it just doesn't work today. I mean, literally like a grade school kid could have given Kamala this game plan. Just hit him in the ego and he'll be off his game the entire time. And he was. So that's ridiculous. Don't do another debate for sure. Do the Biden strategy. Put that idiot in his basement. And you got good people like Tulsi Gabbard. I got them written down so I wouldn't forget. Brett Weinstein, Elon Musk, RFK Jr. and his sidekick, Nicole Shanahan. They should represent the party and talk about all of the horrible atrocities that the Biden Kamala administration has been doing and why we can't have that happen. Who cares? Trump is the figurehead. Okay, put him in there. Just try to turn some things around till we can get a real bona fide smart person in there the next time around. This is what I think. So RFK Jr. came out and talked about just how horrible this presentation was. This is why I got angry.
I heard that. Yeah.
Is because, first of all, I thought for a minute, it's great that RFK came out and started talking sense, but what's going to happen now is anybody that's not a sycophant is going to be shunned. Like his ego's bruised and everything. He's going to now start bad-mouthing RFK Jr., probably Tulsi too. We won't listen to any of them, so we're done. As a country, we are toast, in my opinion. That's why I'm so freaking angry. It's because of his narcissism. And that, again, we had somebody like Vivek right there in the wings, ready to take the bull by the horns. And our idiot conservatives put this guy in charge of things and actually think that, he's something else. Anyways, I want to just 1 minute of RFK here.
Yeah, it should be automatic.
In terms of her delivery, her polish, her organization, and her preparation. I think on substance, President Trump wins in terms of his governance, but he didn't tell that story. In fact, the first question was an extraordinary lost opportunity because there's a question, and I think Doris pointed out that she never answered, which is, are Americans better 4 years later? And there's really no argument for saying that they are by all the indicia by which you measure social deterioration. We have doubled the inflation rate. The housing rates have doubled in the last 4 years. There's 15 million more people, Americans living in poverty.
Stats.
We have these enormous suicide rates, enormous overdose rates, and we're in 2 wars, and all of these things can be attributed to the poor leadership from the Biden-Harris team. And that's the argument that he should have been making, but he got distracted. Yeah. And I think it's unfortunate because I think he really had an airtight argument for his presidency.
That's good enough. You get the idea.
No, you're right, Barry. That very first question. First off, when they asked that question, that was the first question to Kamala Harris. I was shocked first that she completely avoided answering that question. She started, when I was a girl, I grew up in a middle class, blobbity blue.
Oh, good God.
She never answered it because that is her Achilles heel right there. Trump fumbled on the goal line right there. That was the Ernest Biner fumble right there. Yes. It was like, all he had to do was say exactly what RFK Jr. just said. And then keep hammering that. Keep bringing it. Oh, what about January 6th? Yeah, January 6th. I see what you're trying to do. But what about what she's done over the last 3.5 years? She's trying to protect democracy by ushering in tyranny. Check out these things and then go to the stats, go to the record. It's not a campaign. This is not a campaign rally. This is a debate.
Right.
You need to pin this person to the corner with their weakness. And you're right.
Stats.
Barry, this is all about the power of preparation. The matter is that Kamala prepared, even to the point of practicing her facial expressions.
Yes. Oh, it was practiced
her pause, it was, but it worked. And here's the thing is we take a look at televised debates and the history of televised debates. The very first one that we ever had was between Kennedy and Nixon. Nixon was leading. He was the vice president. He had been in there with Eisenhower. He was very popular. Remember, like when Nixon won that second term, he won by the biggest landslide that any other president had ever won still to date. But Kennedy was able to beat him. And the way that he beat him was he's super prepared for that. There was stories about how he prepared for it, how he had 100 of these cards that he was looking at and reviewing so that he was very comfortable with every possible question that could come with him. But number 2 was this. He scoped out the set. Before he got there, he had his people scope out the set and he could see that the background that he was going to have was very light colored. So he decided to wear a dark colored suit. And Nixon wore a gray suit so that when he came in, another thing was Nixon's got a very heavy beard. And when the debate was in the evening and he had 5 o'clock shadow, which showed up on the screen. So when you got the side-by-side picture, you got one guy that looks very young, polished, and he is on fire with his rhetoric. You got another guy that looks tired and he's bleached out. Well, take a look at the view of the debate and look at Trump. The background is all blue. He's washed out because he's wearing blue. And the lighting on him looks terrible. He kind of looks hunched over like this, and the camera angle's coming down on him. Kamala has it's the camera's coming up at her face. It's very positive. She's wearing dark and white, which really pops on the screen. And and then she also had practiced her poises, and
everything was
really was. I mean, I am a rhetoric major, and what I saw shocked me, because I saw somebody that came in there and had her stuff together. Now, the substance of what she said was not so good. But that doesn't matter in a debate. What matters the most is optics, and that's how Kennedy beat Nixon. And I'm very concerned now. So, question for you. Trump is already saying that he's not going to do another debate, and he thinks he won that last debate, by the way.
That's just what he does.
Kamala Harris wants to have another debate. Who do you think has the most to lose by having another debate?
From what I've been seeing, Trump. I think he's just on a downward trajectory. Like I said, I think if he doesn't alienate Tulsi and Elon and RFK Jr., I think that those people should hold rallies and just talk about the importance of turning America around, and then bring in Trump's name, because he's the guy that somehow got appointed to represent this. But I think those people that are very well spoken, that know their stuff, and they left the freaking Democratic Party for this very reason, which is a big statement. What do they have? They got Taylor Swift and freaking Beyonce rooting for them.
This got a couple of Republicans on their side, like Liz Cheney.
Yeah, well, of course, I think that speaks volumes as well, from where she's sitting. But I think that we're in dire straits, and unfortunately, we're saddled with Trump. To answer your question, from what I see, Trump will just dig himself a bigger hole. I think he needs to just go in the basement, and then we need to talk amongst ourselves about how the dire straits that we are in. We need to talk about what this is the thing. This is the thing that also really pisses me off, is that a debate like this for such an important position, it's like they're auditioning. It's like we're literally auditioning them for a High School Musical, the lead in a High School Musical.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, literally. Oh, did you see what Kamala did? Oh yeah, anoint her, because she really did a good performance in an hour-and-a-half debate. Now, we're not concerned about her background, what she's done with this the last 4 years to this country. I am angry on every level, and I mean legitimately. When I thought about what I was going to talk about, I'm like, I'm going to have to bleep the hell out of this thing. But I managed to get through it without.
You did pretty good, and you made some really great points too. So, do you think that the American people who go to the grocery store every week and get robbed at the counter are not able to see that she's been the vice president for the last 4 years, and that she's actually responsible, being the person that passed the two bills, the Inflation Reduction Act, and then there was the other one that gave everybody all those checks. It was the other act. They equaled almost $3 trillion. She cast the tiebreaker vote on all of those things, which directly causes our bank accounts to suffer when we go to the store. Do you think people are making that association on the Democrat part? I mean, in the country?
In the country. You got to be fair here. I mean, I know it sounds like amazing. How doesn't everybody in the planet and in this country put two and two together right there? I mean, it's right in front of your face. But let's be fair here. Most people are working themselves to death, got a family and really busy and are skimming headlines to get their news. And that's in social media. All of this stuff and all of it is controlled by the corporate media, and they're fed a whole lot of BS, and we know that, and that's the biggest problem that we have in this country. And we're given Fox News just like we're given the Republican Party to make us to appease us, to make us think that there is more than one thing going on. And that's all it is. And then, of course, they just demonize Fox News too. You can't listen to them because they're a bunch of kooks. And so, no, I don't think look, I got a friend that gets his news off social media and CNN, and he's really fine with the inflation. I got a couple friends actually in that, and they're like, I'm making ends meet. I'm fine because the alternative is Trump. And so as long as they're okay, but what about your kids? What about all the people that are living paycheck to paycheck that are now going into debt at 22% interest? That's another
You're making a great
thing that
point.
drives me crazy.
Well, you're making some pretty great points here. And here's my assessment is I said at the beginning, I would call this debate a draw because I don't think it moved the needle for the Republicans or for the Democrats. Because I think that if you were going to vote for Kamala, then I don't think anything in the debate changed your mind. And if you were going to vote for Trump, I don't think anything in the debate would have changed your mind right there.
25%, but there's the 50%.
That's it. I don't know if it's 50, but it's enough to change the
RFK
outcome of the
Jr.
election.
himself, I'm quoting him, he said 24% on one side, 26% on the other, something like that, and 48% in the middle.
You see, if that were true, though, then the independent would be able to beat the Republican and the Democrat. So it can't be true you see what I'm saying is that there's not enough. If that were true, the independent would win the election, and that's not going to happen. So, but we do know this.
They just don't ever get any news coverage. So people abandon ship.
If there's 50% of the population is not independent, is what I'm trying to say.
I got you.
Yeah. So, but that is, I think we're in agreement though that's where the real, that's where the dial needs to be moved.
Yes, correct.
And that's where I go back to, okay, the very fact that they're independents to begin with, maybe I'm wrong, but I can't help but to assign them a molecule of intelligence on that because they seem to be able to think for themselves without being influenced by the party rhetoric. Yeah. And so I give them a star for that. And I think, okay, so if you're an independent and you're going to the supermarket like me, then you have to have some common sense about who caused all of this, because at the end of the Trump presidency, you had 1.9% inflation, and now we have a billion% inflation.
I hope you're right.
I hope so too. And
for this reason, I hope they keep Trump in the basement, and Tulsi, Elon, RFK start speaking up, start throwing out the stats, start putting some sense on. But you know what? They don't get the airtime.
That's right.
Except on the channels I listen to,
let's go back to that question of who has the most to lose, because the history of these debates is that, like, think back to the first time Mitt Romney and Obama had that debate, and Obama came out there and he just stunk up the field. Yeah, it was terrible. It was
he came back.
I was like, we got him, and then the next time it was like a flip flop. Romney was like, he couldn't even get out of his own way, and Obama was just like, the government called, the Cold War called, and they want their policy back.
So in your mind, do you think that Trump would be coachable for another debate and learn something?
Well,
I don't know.
Here's my thing. I don't know so much about that, but here's the point I'm trying to make. I do think that coming in the next time, that Kamala is going to be a lot more confident coming in, much like Trump was very overly confident coming into this one.
She had the underdog factor.
Right. And I think that if I really think about it, it's like, is she going to do any better than she did this last time around? I don't think so.
No.
I think you can't really do better than that.
No, not her.
So the fact is, to me, it seems like all of the liability is on her side because she's got the momentum coming out of that debate. Why would you want to take a chance and curtailing
here's what you're saying in a nutshell? Here's what you're saying. She can't do better. That was absolutely her high bar, and Trump couldn't do worse because
that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, like, if I were her, kind of like the fact that she's not doing any press conferences because if she does, she knows she's going to stick her foot in her mouth.
Yeah.
I say if I'm in, but they're pushing for the next debate from the Kamala Harris campaign, which I don't understand because it seems like you're pushing yourself into a vulnerability. And I don't know, but it's yet to be determined. I don't think Trump is going to do it, but we'll see.
I think the strategy is the same as reparations, pushing for reparations. It can't possibly get passed, but you get the star power out of saying, and I think that's the same thing. And if Trump's like, yeah, okay, I'll do another debate, but it's going to be with, and I heard him say, like, somebody say it's going to be Maureen, what's her name from Fox News? They threw Brett Baer, and he's like, no,
Martha
I don't.
McCowan, I think,
yeah. He's like, no, I don't like those two. Jesse Waters and/or Hannity, and because they're sycophants and they suck up to Trump constantly.
They do.
He's such an idiot. I'm telling you, Trump is.
But if you do want to look at fairness, like,
fairness. If I would be like, give me a Dave Smith or a Lex Friedman.
That's not what I mean, though.
I mean say somebody fairness, fair.
No,
but I know what you mean.
I hear what you're saying.
But I mean, so that they can't refuse. Now, if it's Fox News, they're going to refuse all day long. But if somebody like Lex Friedman, who's known, his entire reputation is about being fair.
I think
how do you say no to that
from the beginning? Yeah, right.
I know it's Trump's overconfidence. That's
Okay, so what do you think about this? CNN, and really, to their credit, they have come out with they're talking about. Well, let me. Can you give me the ability to share? Because I got something I want to show here. Because they're actually doing a pretty good job of sharing information that
CNN.
To me, CNN, that seems like, this is interesting. Let me just play a little bit of this.
First time on her campaign website, a K-file investigation has uncovered, meantime, a 2019 questionnaire. And in this questionnaire, Harris laid out some much more liberal stances, among them on immigration. So in 2019, in what K-file found, she said she would cut funding to ICE, writing, quote, our immigrant detention system is out of control, and I believe we must end the unfair incarceration of thousands of individuals, families, and children. I was one of the first senators after President Trump was elected to advocate for a decrease in funding to ICE. Well, now, of course, she's touting the Biden administration's executive order to crack down on the border. K-File's Andrew Kaczynski joins me now. Andrew, that's pretty incredible on its own when you're talking about what you found here on ICE. What else?
I'm going to stop
all the flip-flopping, man.
Sharing right there.
And she'll flip-flop right back if she gets elected.
And that's the whole thing is that as it goes on, they go into the certain things that she pledged on this questionnaire in 2019. She pledged to end immigrant detention. She taxpayer funded gender care and transition surgeries for detained migrants.
Oh my God.
Slash immigrant detention by 50%, close all family and private facilities, decrease funding for ICE, and end ICE detainers. And so CNN went to her and asked, can you comment on how you flopped on these positions? And an unnamed aide responded back to CNN and said the vice president's positions have been shaped by 3 years of effective governance as part of the Biden-Harris administration. As president, she will take that same pragmatic approach, focusing on common sense solutions for the sake of progress. In other words, no answer.
Right.
And it speaks to your point. So this is CNN saying this, Barry.
I'm surprised.
And it is surprising, but more and more articles like this are coming out in the mainstream media. And do you think that, Again, does this move the needle in any way that CNN is calling her a flip-flopper?
I hope. I hope, Merle. One of two things are going to happen, and that is, you can't trust the polls, of course, and these final 2 months, barely under 2 months, are going to be a lot of chaos, and God only knows what happens from here. If she were to win, here's what I know, and we're too late. You and I talked about this before. Everybody in this country needs to get educated on the fact that we need to figure out who our influential politicians are at a state and local level and hold them accountable. We all do across this nation. By the time you wait for your anointed one, which is not even a democratic process here anymore, in the 4-year election for president, to think that they're going to save our asses, it's really too late. And so you and I need to start to do that and start talk about that. So does this pendulum, is it still swinging so far in crazy town that we need to elect her and hope that this country can survive another 4 years of being run by the deep state with open borders? Like, do you really think that we could survive that? If we do, the only way it's going to happen is everybody at a grassroots level is going to have to start taking leadership roles. And we're going to have to start holding our elected officials at a state and local level accountable on a day-to-day basis.
I mean, that is music to my ears. I totally agree with you. And that's really the heart of our government. At least it's supposed to be. It actually is. They're trying to change that. They being the powerful power grabbers in the federal government, that's not really the way that it's supposed to be. And as we see that they're able to hide a lot of things, and getting really back to that debate, something that Trump did bring up several times was some of the things that have happened in Aurora, Colorado, and also Springfield, Ohio. And
that was stupid on his part, but expected. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Again, though, these things are happening in people's communities and people are concerned about it. And what we see is massive deception coming from the government as far as what exactly is going on. And it seems to me that people are starting to figure this out. When you look at the Aurora, Colorado thing, we know that there's this gang that is up there called the Venezuelan gang. They have a name for them. It's Tren de Aragua, which means Train of Aragua is an area of Venezuela. It's a state in Venezuela where these gang members came from. But when we first heard the story, Barry, we heard the mayor of Aurora, Colorado, saying that this was all Republican propaganda. And now, over the last week, we've got 10 arrests of this Venezuelan gang from the apartment complex, which truly was taken over by this Venezuelan gang. Now we have this whole thing in Springfield coming up, and we can see that there's been 20,000 Haitians that have moved into this town. Whether they're eating pets or not isn't the main problem. The main problem is that this town seems to have been destroyed from within by a federal policy to bring an overpopulation of illegal immigrants into this town. What do you think?
I think, and I got very strong feelings about this, is that you got to know your audience. And most of America is not going to know anything about what you just said. Not the Denver, whatever that town is in Colorado. Aurora. Yeah. And not the Springfield thing. They're going to be told by corporate news that it's fake news, that it's exaggerated. You go to your little fact checker.
What they've done, right?
All the fact checkers, they're all lies. Right. But people believe it. And so know your audience. So what you need to do is stop saying stupid stuff like that. And I wrote down here, I talked about how Tulsi, Elon, RFK Jr., these people need to start holding rallies about what's going on in America right now. They need to bring in every guest possible, like Aaron Rodgers, James Woods, Robert Downey Jr. used to be somewhat vocal about being a conservative. Now he hides it.
I don't think he is.
I think he is. He's been to prison. You don't come out of prison a liberal.
He's highly tied to the CCP, though.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Then not him. Tucker, Candace Owens, everybody needs to make what my point is, to hold rallies that is beyond suppression by corporate media. Know your audience. And
I think that's I mean, being a rhetoric major, you just said a mouthful.
Yeah. So I think that we all need to, come on, man, let's get aware of this. And the problem with Trump is that his world, like ours, Merle, everyone's not in our news world. Most people are not. And Trump's news world is Truth Social, man. It's really freaking biased. And he thinks everybody's there with him. He's an idiot. That's the freaking problem. And I just keep coming back to that. I'm just so angry that he's the one that we appointed for this incredibly important time in America. But I'll say this too. If we can pull our heads out of our asses and in 2 months actually elect that idiot, then, and if he doesn't turn his back on Tulsi and Elon and RFK Jr., if he does embrace them, those minds can turn this country around, can solve a lot of problems.
Yeah. I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. And also I'm smiling just because I'm thinking about how you said that the debate gave you Trump derangement syndrome.
It did, man.
Well, getting back to the Springfield thing, your governor, Mike DeWine, is sending troopers and $2.5 million to Springfield to face this surge of Haitian migrants. And I watched a video of a guy that said, I just am going to go down there and just see what's happening myself. And he went and interviewed Haitians. He interviewed other people that live there. And it was very interesting. This is a citizen journalist that just went in and just started talking to people. He had a translator on his phone so he could talk to these Haitian people. And I thought the perspective was very interesting. There's nothing like really going and having an unbiased view and coming and talking to both sides and getting both sides of their story. And, as I think about these Haitians, down in Hades right now, they got a guy by the nickname of Barbecue that's running the place down there. And he's eating. I mean, this sounds crazy and everything, but there are gangs of cannibals down there, and they're eating, they're burning people alive. They're eating people. That's what the people had to get the heck out of there. Okay, so if I'm in Hades and I hear all of this happening, I'm getting on that boat too. I'm getting out of there. Yeah. And so these people have been used and they've been abused, but does that mean we take every person in? I think maybe we try to help them with the situation they have over there so that they can stay there. But then, so you hear about how they got here. But then you hear the other side and their complaints, and everybody's legitimate in what they're saying. And I think, what we've seen in the press is that they just stir up everybody's emotions. They focus on one side or the other, or it's just complete lies about what's going on. One of the stories that I saw on the positive side for the Haitians was, they're great workers. They're actually better workers than our own American citizens. And I was highly insulted by that, because it was like, so what you're saying is, let's bring a bunch of people from foreign countries in because Americans suck. Well, that to me is a terrible way. That was a terrible story right there. It's insulting.
There's some truth to it.
Sure, but but is the fact that we bring in people at lower wages to blow up our economy, or do we find a better solution? I think that's what we need to do. But it's just interesting to see how this is going on right now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's some truth in it, because our population is aging out, and it's come to a point where I heard the stats like yesterday. White people are reproducing at 1.7 per couple, replacing we're depleting our population. Asians,
that's right.
Across the board, it's we're not replacing the Native American people. I don't mean Indian people. I mean, all of our different races. We're not replacing, and we're aging out. We're
going on. Yeah.
We're living longer, and all these people need somebody to work. We need people to run our economy and country. So there's some truth to it. And I think that a lot of this leftist thing that's trying to do the Soros thing and shake us up by this illegal immigration, for some reason, they don't use the word illegal immigrant anymore. But that's the problem, the illegal part. So we need to cap that. We need to do something about that. And we need to vet people and bring them in here legally, because these people are amazing and have been the backbone of America since its inception.
I think you're right. So legal immigration for
Absolutely.
the purpose that it was set up for in the beginning
Absolutely.
is the way to go. I know we're starting to wrap up here, but I do have some good news to share. We've been looking at this. You and I had been looking at this as well. This whole thing in California where they were going to give $150,000 to first-time home buyers. Including undocumented citizens.
Oh, really? Just give them my money. Thank you.
Yeah. And there was some other crazy stuff about how if an undocumented citizen got this, that they wouldn't actually have to pay mortgage until they moved out of the house, which is crazy to even think about. So that actually passed the assembly in California and went to Gavin Newsom's desk. And it was like, oh my God, this is going to happen. It's going to destroy California and possibly the country.
Yeah.
Well, last Friday, Newsom vetoed the bill. And
really?
Why did he? It was totally shocking. But why did he do it? He said, because it's going to ruin our state. We don't have any money to do this. And so it was like the first common sense thing I ever heard coming from Newsom.
Jeez.
I'm very suspicious of the whole thing, and I think we should be, but that does sound like good news to me, Barry.
At least there's that. Oh, I want to remind everybody, I should have said this earlier, that Mark Tennant's 2-minute AI DIY tip is coming up at the end of the show. It's coming up very soon. Merle, if we are winding up, I mean, if you got something else, that's cool. I do have a mini series that I'd like to recommend and talk about.
Oh, great. Let's hear it.
Okay. I just discovered it about a week ago. And I like things like this. It's 5 episodes. And I like that. It's so digestible. 5 one-hour episodes. I'm going to do a little share here. Oh, I got to find it first. And it's called 5 Days to Midnight. And it's on Prime, so most of us got that. Yeah. And it's got a time travel element to it, and it's a murder mystery.
Ooh.
And it's, like I said, 5 episodes, so I just finished it. When college professor J.T. Newmeyer discovers a police file that outlines the details of his murder, which is to take place in 5 days in the future, he wastes no time trying to save his own life.
Wow, that sounds like fun. I like that. 5 days to midnight. Oh, and I like how they did the 5 right there.
Oh, it's a great graphic, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Look at that. Cool.
Timothy Hutton, Randy Quaid plays the cop in it in a serious role. He's very good in it. And whoever Carrie Matchett is. Never heard of her, but I do recommend. And dude, this is from 2004.
Oh, wow.
It's good.
Find. I love that.
I really enjoyed it. Got its twist at the end, but so this guy comes upon some files that shows his own murder. And
that's pretty wild. A cool concept. Pretty fun. And I like murder kind of mystery things too. I'm also big on the court drama too. I like that part as well. Pretty fun. I got one myself. I've been watching. I'm almost done with the 2nd season, which I think is the very end. I'm on the last episode. It's called The Serpent Queen, and this one is an American historical drama television series about the life of Catherine de Medici. I think that's how you call it. She's the 16th century queen of France, portrayed by Samantha Morton, and the series was created based on a 2004 nonfiction book, Catherine de Medici, Renaissance Queen of France. So this is a 2-season, 8 series each, a series, and this Catherine becomes the queen of France when she was a very young girl. She married the prince when she was 14, and they thought they were going to just be able to just have her be like their little marionette doll, but she had a mind of her own, and she gets as she grows older, she becomes the linchpin of history at that time. You've got Queen Elizabeth at the time, you got the Holy Roman Empire, and all of the intrigue that's happening between the Protestants and the Catholics. This all culminates in people leaving the old world to find the new world here in America.
Wow.
But this actually goes through a lot of the process that's happened, and the decisions and the drama, the political drama that's happening. The characters in this are well put together. It's lots of intrigue in this and lots of strategic maneuvering around. It's exciting, and it's also shocking. Now, it's not for kids. If you're thinking about watching this with kids, don't do it. There's, like most things that are on TV, there's strong sexual content. And, sex is what made history happen back then and still today. So it
perpetuates the species.
It is a part of it.
What is it called again, and where can we find it?
The Serpent Queen, and you can see that on Stars. And I think I saw the first season on Prime, so it's on there too now. But it's on Stars, and this came out. Let's see, it premiered in 2022. They got picked up again for a second season, which started in July of this year, and they've already got 8 episodes in. I think I'm on the 8th episode. I'm pretty sure that's the last one.
Well, cool. That's a good share. I will try to find it, but I got to take you with a grain of salt, because you got me into the fixated on the Man in the High Castle.
I still got to watch the end of that.
And that kind of
ruined
my life for a short period of time.
I'm sorry about that. We're gonna talk about that. I'll get to that one too. It's because it is a pretty eye-opening kind of thing. And just like the Serpent Queen, many of the things that are happening there apply to what we're seeing today in politics and really what's happening in world history today.
All right, that sounds good. I think that's it. Stay tuned for Mark's AI DIY special, 2 minutes, and
awesome.
Get you going there. All right, Merle, thank you very much.
Hey there, over 50, starting over friends. How are you? Mark Tennant back with you with your AI tip of the week. Smart prompting equals better results. That's what we're going to talk about again this week. Last week, we introduced ChatGPT and how to talk to it, and it's as easy as talking to a human. And I hope you were able to practice a little bit more and experiment on your own with ChatGPT. And we gave you 2 prompts. The first one was write a blog article about a work topic. And then the second one was write a blog article about something personal, maybe a hobby. And what kind of results did you get? I think you thought it was pretty interesting, especially if you just started using ChatGPT and AI. But this week, we're going to dive a little bit deeper and get more out of the AI than we did last week. Now, remember, prompting equals talking to the AI. But if you give it more context and you write a little bit better your prompts, you'll get better results, and I'll show you why. So right now, open ChatGPT and write a short article on gardening. I did that, and it came up with this article. Not bad. Talks about starting small, the therapeutic benefits of gardening, and it gave us a little bit more than that, but a sample screenshot wanted to show you what it looked like. But not bad, as we said, about if you didn't really know anything about gardening. But we're going to introduce role-playing right now into it, and we're going to tell the AI to act as a role, act as something. It could be a marketing specialist, a CEO, a CFO. You can have it actually play the role of a real-life person. But in this case, it's going to be a master gardener. So open up ChatGPT in a new window and type, assume the role of a master gardener, and write a short article on gardening. And boom. I think you'll agree, a little more complete here, knowing your soil types, the importance of pH, organic matter, mulching, those types of things. 2 great responses, but I think 2 different results, right? One was first general, and the second one, when we added the role, was a little bit more in-depth. So in that same chat window, I want you to now type, I want to grow my own tomatoes, write a guide on how to get started growing my own tomatoes. And boom, there you go. A beginner's guide to growing your own tomatoes. And look at this, really complete. It says choose the right variety, start with healthy soil, deciding between seeds and transplants, planting your tomatoes, spacing, watering, and everything. It's just what a complete and comprehensive guide. All because we asked ourselves the right questions in the proper context and we had the AI role play. So from now on, in every prompt, I always want you to have the AI play some type of role because you will get better results. And that's it. You're instantly a better prompter. You will get better as you keep practicing, I promise. So keep prompting, keep going, and I will see you next week. Absolutely.